So this week I'm following basically the same theme, and today is no different. Um, I think I'm going to call this video How the Church Became the Great Whore of Babylon. And I'm just going to read a simple article written by somebody else. It's not like you shouldn't know these things already. Actually, people do and decide they're going to do it. Commit these abominations anyway. So this is from scientificamerican.com and written by Crystal DeCosta, March 31st, 2013, Beyond Ishtar, the Tradition of Eggs at Easter. Eggs occupy a special status during Easter observances. They're symbols of rebirth and renewal. Life bursts forth from this otherwise plain, inanimate object that gives no hint of what it contains. In this regard, it is a handy symbol for the erection of, and I quote them, Jesus Christ or Jesus Christos. But it is a symbol that has held this meaning long before Christianity adopted it. Christianity adopted customs that came before it, as they would say. Interesting, huh? There is a meme floating around Facebook that some people have rallied around and are sharing it as a truth of Easter. It proclaims, Easter was originally the celebration of Ishtar, the Assyrian and Babylonian. I want everybody to be very careful to remember these words. The Assyrian and Babylonian goddess of fertility and sex. Her symbols, like the egg and bunny, were and still are fertility and sex symbols, or did you actually think eggs and bunnies had anything to do with the resurrection? After Constantine decided to Christianize, according to Paul, some of the Gentile churches, churches who were followers of Yehoshua, were already slipping away during his time. I have mentioned this to you in the book of Galatians, and I think it was in Corinthians. After Constantine decided to Christianize the empire, Easter was changed to represent Jesus, but at its roots, Easter, which is how you pronounce Ishtar, or Ishtar, is all about celebrating fertility and sex. Now, this meme that this person is questioning is actually accurate. Now, this person gets into some truth, doesn't go all the way into the truth, and I implore everyone not to just go for half-truths. You got to go all the way. Clearly, we all know that Facebook memes are the ultimate source of information, particularly when they make a biting point about something or some group that is not particularly favorably viewed. Now, her point here is a point of sarcasm, as you can plainly see. But it is but she goes back and gives the meme some credence here. But it is well known that under the Roman Empire, Christianity did indeed. So even though she does not like this meme, she's confessing that Christianity did indeed adopt the pagan rituals of conquered peoples in an effort to help convert them. How do you convert somebody by adopting their pagan ways? That makes no sense, does it? Yet this is actually known to be what Christians did. It was never about converting them, the conquered peoples. It was about rape, pillage, and murder, and scarfing up all of their gold and silver and other valuable items. That's what it was really about. And if that meant to adopt their customs to do it, to get them on their side eventually so they can conquer more people, then so be it. That's how their mentality was. It worked pretty well as a strategy, as it allowed the conquered peoples to continue a semblance of their observances as they remembered, and with time the population would be replaced with those who only knew the new traditions. Well, obviously that didn't work at all, because what happened was this, is, as I pointed out yesterday, using a verse in Proverbs, if you do not continual follow the truth, if you do not continue to follow the truth, you will not stay static. You will go backwards and lose everything that you have. In fact, you know the parable of the pounds? I believe it's the parable of the pounds, or is it the parable of the talents? One of the two actually describes that. But I'll continue. This is not a secret. However, there are a few things wrong with the Ishtar meme that a simple Google search will turn up. No, there's nothing wrong with the Ishtar meme. It is absolutely accurate. So this person is probably speaking from a Christian perspective, trying to smooth over something that cannot be smoothed over. See? So we'll read what she says. She says, Ishtar was a goddess of love and war and sex, as well as protection, fate, childbirth, marriage, and storms. Did you miss anything? Probably did. So we're going to read it again. Ishtar was the god of love and war, rape, pillage, and murder. You got it now, didn't you? All right, let's continue. There's some fertility in there, but as with Aphrodite, there is an element of power. Her cult practiced sacred prostitution, where women waited at a temple and had sex with a stranger in exchange for a divine blessing and money to feed the hungry children or pay a debt. Ishtar's symbols were the lion, the morning star, and the 8 or 16-pointed stars, again, symbols of power. All right, let's examine this particular statement. Well, if we go to Daniel, let's see here. I'm trying to remember what scripture it was in. I think it would probably be in Daniel 3, maybe? No, that was the golden statue. Let's see here. Give me a second. All right, I will have to just go chapter after chapter, because it comes around. Wait a minute. Handwriting. Oh, this is, so this, it goes earlier? It's here somewhere. Oh, I'll do it like this here. The 4 winds. Daniel 7, okay. So it was in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon. Daniel had a dream and visions in his head and upon his bed, and he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spoke, and he said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Do you know what the great sea is? The Mediterranean Sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another. The first one was like a lion, and it had eagle's wings. And I beheld till the wings thereof was plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon its feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. All right, and that would be the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. And you can, a lot of people have no idea what this means, but I will go to the second one. The second was like a bear, which is like the second part of the kingdom of the golden image. The second would have been the Persian Empire, not Russia. And the fourth one, the third one would have been the leopard, that would be Greece. And the fourth one would be the kingdom of iron, that would be Rome. Okay? Now, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to go back to this particular Ishtar symbols were the lion. Okay, the lion represents Babylon. Right here in Daniel 7 and verse 4. All right, mark it down. Daniel 7 and verse 4. First was like a lion. All right? So clearly it's a representation of Babylon, because Babylon was actually, if we go to Daniel 2, you will see in this particular dream about the image. This image's head was of fine gold, and his breast is arms of silver, and belly and his thighs of brass, and his legs of iron. So the fourth was iron, and there came after it one part of iron and part of clay. Now, so the first one would have been fine gold, and he says this is the interpretation. Verse 37, you are a king of kings, for Jehovah, for Elohim of heaven, has given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory, and whatsoever the children of the men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven, he has given into your hand, and has made you ruler over them. You are this head of gold, therefore he's also the lion, the first one. The first one in each dream. Therefore, the symbol of the lion is the symbol of Babylon. And the morning star. Here is another symbol of Babylon. Let's go to straight to this passage, and I believe it's Jeremiah. No, it is Isaiah 14. Now, Isaiah 14 is an extremely important chapter in the prophets, because this right here in verse 1, 2, and 2, this is to take place in the future, and it will be triumphant over a Babylonish system. Now, as you can see right here, it says this. Well, I want to go ahead and read verse 1 and 2 first, so that we never forget this. For Jehovah will have mercy on Jacob, and will again choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And there will be Gentiles that will be joined unto them, and cleave unto the house of Jacob. And as I pointed out, as Paul wrote in Romans 11, those who are grafted in among the branches of Israel, not those who raped, pillaged, and murdered Israel, but those who are grafted in, those who want to become a member of one of the tribes of Israel, like Ruth and Rahab did. There are not that many of those, unfortunately, in comparison to those who wanted to rape and pillage and murder Israel. And the people, the Gentiles, will take them and bring them back to their place in the house of Israel, will possess the Gentiles in the land of Jehovah for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. This goes to Revelation 13, where it says, and I quote, "Those who kill by the sword," warmongers, aka keepers of Easter, "shall die by the sword. And those who," I have to find this chapter and verse because it is absolutely important to connect the dots here, folks. I cannot stress to you how important it is. Enough. Strong's Concordance. Right here. Those of you who are willing to listen, listen. Verse 9, chapter 13. "If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leads into captivity will go into captivity. He that kills with the sword must be killed with the sword, because this is the patience of and the faith of the Kodesh." This is exactly the same passage as Isaiah 14 and verse 2. It means exactly the same thing. There is no spiritualization of it. It is exact. The Gentiles are going to take them and bring them back to their own place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Jehovah for servants and for handmaids. And they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. And it shall come to pass in that day that Jehovah will give you rest from your sorrow and from your fear and from the hard bondage which you were made to serve. And you will take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, "How has the oppressor ceased, and how has the golden city ceased? Jehovah has broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers." Now I must pull up Ecclesia. Let's see if I can find. Okay, this is a good one. All right. So this is the scepter that's going to be broken right here. This ecclesia is the great whore, Ishtar, the one they call the queen of heaven, and she is of Babylon. I will continue. So that scepter is going to be broken. The scepter of the rulers are going to be broken. Those who smote, let's see, he will smite those people with a continual stroke. And he will rule the Goy in anger, and none is going to stop the revenge. The whole world is at rest and is quiet, and they break forth into singing. Yes, even the fir trees rejoice at you, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, "How are you laid down? No feller has come up against us." Sheol, beneath is moved, so you can meet it at your coming. It stirs up the dead for you, and all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the Gentiles. The Goy. And they will speak and say unto you, are you also weak like we are? Are you become like unto us? Your pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of your bottle or your pitcher, probably drinking bottle, your drinking cup. The worms are spread under you, and the worms also cover you. Maggots. How are you fallen from the sky, O Lucifer? And in Hebrew it's Hallel. Shining one, son of the dawn. Let's continue with this beyond Ishtar. The word Easter does not appear to be derived from Ishtar. Well, wow, what a statement to make. Trying to cover up the truth. Well, the problem is the truth is naked and bare. Or I should say, the truth makes the lie naked and bare. We can all see that her cover-up is not going to cover up this nakedness. Ishtar is, in fact, Ishtar. All right? But the German Eoster, the goddess of the dawn, she was trying to sidestep, and she swerved right into a collision with another truth. Goddess of the dawn, what did we just read? Shining one, son of the dawn. Shachar, the dawn. You will be cut down to the ground, you who weaken the Gentiles. Because you said in your heart, I will ascend into the sky and exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim, or El. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above, or I will ascend on the high place in the dark cloud, and I will resemble the Most High, the Elohim, the Elion. Replacement, a replacement idol. This is exactly the religion that Christianity practices. In everything that they do, they replaced Yehoshua with Jesus or Jesus, and they replaced Jehovah with Gut, the one-eyed idol of the Norsemen, and with Deus, who is Zeus, or Satan himself. You will be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And they that see you shall narrowly look upon you and consider you, saying, is this the man that has made the earth to tremble, and did shake the kingdoms? Well, who else besides the king of Babylon has done this? The kingdom of iron did this also. And when you read Revelation 13, it is very clear. It becomes crystal clear. That made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, and that opened not the house of the prisoners. All right, I'm going to, for a second here, show you what the fourth kingdom. Daniel 7:23. Why was Daniel so interested in this fourth beast? What happened to... they've got some issues with this website. Eventually they'll fix. Okay. Verse 7, and after I saw this in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and broke in pieces, and destroyed the rest with the feet thereof. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. It had 10 horns, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn. Now, let's see here. Trying to remember. I looked this up sometime or another. I may have to do this later. About a year ago, I went over this, and their connection is most definitely to the Vatican. A new interpretation. Maybe. All right, let's look at it this way. What is a horn? A horn is a kingdom, right? All right. Let's do this. What is the smallest kingdom on earth? No, that's not right. Vatican. Okay, Vatican City-State is the world's smallest state. It's a kingdom located entirely inside of the Italian capital, Rome. Now we get a better picture, don't we? So the Vatican is supposed to be the smallest country in the world. So you can make an argument about whether it is the smallest kingdom in the world or not, but it's the smallest country in the world. It is inside of Rome. And that should tell you something. Now, let's continue with Daniel 7. Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Of those 3 horns that were plucked up by the roots, if I can remember, was the Visigoths, the Vandals, and the Heruli. Yes, you can look it up. The man at the Vatican destroyed them. And behold, in his horn were the eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth that speaks great things. Now, you've got to go back to Joel 2. Oh, hold on. You got to connect the dots, folks. Joel 2. Somewhere in here. There's in the restoration promised right here. Verse 20. I will remove far off from you the northern army and will drive him into a land barren and desolate with his face toward the east sea. I guess that would be the Salt Sea, and his hinder part, or might be the Sea of Galilee. I think that's what it is. And the hinder part toward the Great Sea, that would be the Mediterranean Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he has done great things. So he's going to destroy the man at the Vatican, his army at that location. Mouth speaking great things. And I looked until they were overthrown. I need to start, yes, right here. I finally found Strong's Concordance here, because you can make connections with Isaiah, the prophet in Isaiah 60. Let me show you. And I beheld till the thrones were overthrown. To throw or to overthrow. Okay? It's a little bit different word than is used in Isaiah, but it means essentially the same thing. So we'll go, now we see who this person is. So we'll go to Isaiah 60, and I'll show you the overthrowing. Right here. This is speaking of, let's see here, you will see and flow at stream, and your heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the sea people, the crowd, the abundant of the sea people, of the sea, shall be overthrown. This word is haptak. It means to turn or overturn or overthrow. Overthrow. Okay? The sea people, the Mediterranean Sea people, Rome. Now, you see? So these thrones will be overthrown, and the Ancient of Days, that is Jehovah, the Father, the Creator of all things, the one who said, the one whose words was in Hebrew, let there be light. He sat on his throne, and his garment is white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. And his throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire, just like is written in Ezekiel chapter 1. A fire stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands and thousands ministered unto him. 10,000s and 10,000s stood before him, and the judgment was set, and the books were opened. Daniel 12. What does Daniel 12 say? Now watch this. Now I beheld because of the voice of the great words that the horn spoke. And I beheld till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and thrown into burning flame. And as for the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. Okay, then you see how then right here comes the Son of Man with the cloud of the sky, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and that would be to Jerusalem. And there was given unto him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all the people and Gentiles and language should serve him. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion, which will be in Jerusalem, that shall never pass away, and his kingdom shall not be destroyed. But see, Daniel, he was extremely grieved in his body and spirit. concerning that fourth beast. And I came unto him, one that stood by, and asked the truth of all of this. And he told me, and he made me know the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the Kodesh, that is Israel, of the Most High, shall take the kingdom, that's Jerusalem, and possess the kingdom forever and ever. And he would know the truth about the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth of iron and nails of brass, which devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the rest with his feet, and then the 10 horns which were in his head, and of the others who came up, before of whom 3 fell. And the horn that had eyes, and the mouth that spoke great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And I beheld that same horn made war with the Kodesh, and prevailed against him. That would be the kingdom inside of Rome did this. It was done 70 CE. The war began 67, ended in 74. But the pillaging and looting of Jerusalem began at 70 CE and continued until it stopped 3.5 years later in 74. And prevailed against them until the Ancient of Days came. So now we see that this beast had dominion until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the Kodesh of the Most High, and the time that came for the Kodesh to possess the kingdom. And he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be different from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth. Now we get to see in Isaiah 14 the similarity to Babylon after all, but much worse. Watch this, folks. This is why you really need to read with care, because it's all here. Verse 16, they that see you shall look narrowly upon you and consider you, saying, this is the man that made the earth to tremble, that shook the kingdoms, that made the whole world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, and opened not the house of the prisoners. So, once again, the kingdom of iron has become the kingdom of Babylon. You see? Did you get it? Did you see it? Devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. This last beast, the kingdom of iron, the man who sits in the Vatican, when the whole thing began with Caligula, destroyed Jerusalem, wiped out entire nations, Rome did, and through its 10 toes continued to colonize, rape, pillage, and murder the whole world over. Whether it was beginning with the kingdom in Rome, the French colonization, the Spanish colonization, the English colonization, the Russian colonization of the Portuguese colonization of the entire world, Belgium, you name it, they did it. It fits this description exactly. And the 10 horns of this kingdom, out of this kingdom, 10 kings that shall arise, another shall rise after them. He shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. The one who subdues 3 kings, who came later, subdued 3 kings, is the man at the Vatican himself. Watch this. What is that? How do you spell that? Vandals and Ostrogoth, I think. Okay, the Ostrogoth, the nation in 493, and it was overthrown in 538. Its total destruction in 554. So that's one. All right. I love how they go. Did the papacy really uproot? Let's look at this one. Papal victories. We already know the one was uprooted. This is going to take me to nowhere here. Okay. So the Ostrogoths. Well, let's just go to here. This might. No, that was the same one. I think it's here. 10 horns, a little horn, and the uprooted 3 horns. All right. We have noted that the Ostrogoths, Vandals, and Heruli had vanished from Europe, leaving no trace in the 21st century. See chapter titled The Little Horn Among the 10 Horns. But when did this loss of entity take place? Amazing, all 3 vanished shortly after the time in which they had reached the zenith of their power. Their decline in each case was dramatic, unexpected, and sudden. This prophecy thus is a most compelling one. So it goes, if you want to read the whole thing, you can read the whole thing, but it shows you how the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, and the Heruli were overthrown. The destroyers of the Heruli, Vandals, and the Ostrogoths thought they were carrying out their own purpose, but in reality they were fulfilling the word, as he puts it, God, but fulfilling the word of Jehovah, having given through his prophets a word proclaiming at a time when none of these nations existed, a millennium prior to their prophesied demise. Now, so that's good enough. I think I've made my case here. I'm almost forgetting where I am. All right. So we obviously can see that this is the Babylon of the last days, because they did what was written in Isaiah 14 when he calls him the king of Babylon, who destroyed everything and made everything a wasteland. Now, I fear, folks, with all of the ratcheting going on between Christian nations today, and with all of the nuclear weapons that they may actually turn the whole earth into a wilderness, literally. With the way that the Russians and the Biden administration is carrying on right now, and even with the way the British are carrying on, everybody rattling their nukes, rattling for war, with what is going on in Ukraine right now. No, the news is not talking about what's going on in Ukraine right now. Just over a month ago, Russia has changed their strategy, their nuclear strategy, from the one of they will only fire a nuclear weapon if they are fired upon first, to a first strike doctrine, just like the United States first strike doctrine. This is extremely dangerous, what is going on in Ukraine. And of course, now you have this situation in the Suez Canal being completely blocked, and they do not know how to get this great big Humpty Dumpty out of the Suez Canal. And you've heard of the saying, Murphy's Law, the what can go wrong will go wrong. Well, if you bother to read Isaiah 4, it makes mention of this kind of scenario. What can go wrong will go wrong. Anyway, I'm deviating from this particular article, which I need to continue. It's very important. I hope I didn't lose it. What have I done? Here it is. Ishtar's symbols were the lion, the morning star, and the 8 or 16 pointed stars, again, the symbols of power. This is not an 8 or 16 pointed star. This right here represents 2 Phoenician Dalits representing the initials of King David. Now, why Phoenician? Why not Hebrew Dalits? I think I know the answer. Joel 3 may provide the answer. You see, Jehovah accuses Tyre and Zidon, the Phoenicians, of selling the Jews to the Greeks so that they may be far, far away from their border. So this represents a Jewish people that were thrown out of their land by the Phoenicians, Tyre and Zidon. But you, Christians, accuse this of being the star of Molech when it is you. Let me show you something. The 8-pointed star and the 16-pointed star. All right. Let's look at images. Two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8. Right here. Right here. 8-pointed star. Your Christmas star is an 8-pointed star. It is the star of Babylon, the star of Molech, the star of Ishtar. And this woman, who is, here we go again, star of Ishtar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Now let's look at the Union Jack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. It's one cross superimposed upon another. It's two crosses. Symbolism of power. Power was given unto him. Let's see, it was somewhere in here it says power was given unto him. But anyway, I have to be careful that I don't burn up too much time here. The word Easter, she claims, does not appear to be derived from Ishtar, but from the German Eoster, goddess of the dawn, a bringer of light. English and German are in the minority of languages that use a form of the word Easter to mark the holiday. Elsewhere, the observance is framed in Latin, Pashka, which in turn is derived from the Hebrew word Pishach, meaning or the association with Passover. Ishtar and Easter appear to be homophones. She went around and said they were not related to each other. Then she said they appear to be homophones. Come on, let's speak the truth. Let's not speak with double talk. They may be pronounced similarly but have different meanings. No, they have the same meaning. Stop lying. Our helpful meme places the egg in Ishtar's domain, but Ishtar doesn't seem to be connected with eggs in an explicit way. However, there are plenty of older traditions that involve an egg as a symbol of rebirth, and it is featured prominently in creation mythologies. Ancient Egyptians believe in a primeval egg from which the sun god hatched. So when you go and you roll around your Easter eggs, you're doing it in honor of the sun god, all of the sun gods that I've mentioned in the previous video, if you want to go check it out. Alternatively, the sun is sometimes described as an egg itself, laid daily by the celestial goose, Seb, the god of the earth. The phoenix is said to have emerged from this egg. The egg is discussed in terms of a world egg molded by Khnum from a lump of clay in his potter's wheel. Hinduism makes a connection with between the context of the egg and the structure of the universe. For example, the egg represents the heavens, the white the air, the yolk the earth. The Chandogya Upanishads describes the act of creation in the terms of breaking of an egg. So he goes on, which this Indian religion, then Zoroastrian religion. The creation myth tells of an ongoing struggle between the principles of good and evil during a lengthy truth of several thousand years. Evil hurls himself into an abyss, and good lays an egg, which represents the universe with the earth suspended from the vault of the sky at the midway point between where good and evil resides. Evil pierces the egg and returns the earth, and the two forces continue in their battle. And it goes on and on and on and on. All the Gentiles have a version of this Easter egg. The phoenix was adopted as a Christian symbol. Well, the phoenix was a pagan symbol. In the 1st century CE, it appears on funeral stones in early Christian art, churches, religious paintings, and stonework. Oh, how quickly did Christians turn from the truth. Oh, how quickly the Christians ran gleefully toward paganism. The egg from which it rose has become our Easter egg. As with many symbols, the Easter egg has continued to shift. When the Lenten fast was adopted in the 3rd and 4th centuries, observant Christians abstained from dairy products, including milk, cheese, butter, and eggs. In England, on the Saturday before Lent, it was common practice for children to go from door to door and beg for eggs, a last treat before the fast began. When the act of coloring of eggs is tied to the idea, even the act of coloring of eggs is tied to the idea of rebirth and resurrection, while egg decorating kits offer a vibrant means of decorating eggs today. The link between life and eggs was traditionally made by using a red coloring. Among Christians, red symbolizes, as they say, the blood of Jesus, but in fact it symbolizes the clothing of the great whore of Babylon, Ecclesia. You see. And so she says, even having recognized its idolatry, she, just like all the other Christians around the world, says this, and I quote, "I love the Easter traditions at church. The lighting of the Easter candle reminds me of my childhood Diwali celebrations and the lighting of Christmas lights, as they all represent means of driving away darkness. Easter may well be some connection to the rites of spring, and admittedly, she admitted a whole lot here, but yet she is going to continue to latch on to that Babylonish whore religion. She is just like all the other Christians around the world, knowing what they're doing is wrong, but loving it anyway. And then the shock and dismay that is going to come when Revelation, I believe, 17 comes. Might be 18. And after these things I saw another messenger come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lit with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, as become the habitation of demons. No, it didn't quite happen overnight, but it grew and grew and grew until it became the habitation of every evil demon. And the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hate-filled bird. All the Gentiles, look, I want you to read this, folks, all the Gentiles. It did not say the Jews, it says all the Gentiles have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. Let's go to Revelation 2. Right here. Verse 20, notwithstanding, I have a few things against you, because you've allowed that woman Jezebel, which calls herself a prophetess. Ishtar was a prophetess, wasn't she? Did we not just read it? See if I can find it again. I sure wish I could have. It was in one of those. It was in one of those articles that I had, and I don't know if I've already gotten rid of think I already got rid of that particular, yep, I did. So we'll have to continue. Calls herself a prophetess to teach and cause my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed to idols. I gave her space to repent. It is very clear now, folks, that this Jezebel is that great whore in Babylon. Of her fornication, and she repented not, I will cast her into a sick bed, and those that commit adultery with her into great tribulation. So, what we see here is all the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, so all the rulers of the earth, all the kingdoms of the earth, and all the merchants of the earth are all going to be cast into great tribulation. And Isaiah 14 is going to happen to her. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people. All right, well, he just said, all the Gentiles have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. That means all the Gentiles are going to be cast into the great tribulation. We just read it here. I gave her space to repent of her fornication, and she repented not. Behold, I will cast her into a sick bed, and them that commit adultery with her into great tribulation. It says right here that all the Gentiles, you see that word? All the Gentiles have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. That means the Gentiles are going to be cast into great tribulation, just like it says in Luke 21. Luke 21 and Matthew 24. Come out of her, my people. Well, that would be Israel. That you be not partakers of her sins. You say it's the church, but we just read. He's talking to the messenger to the church in Thyatira. The church in Thyatira is a Gentile church. And he's telling them what's going to happen to any of those who committed fornication with that Jezebel. And right here it says all the Gentiles have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. You can't weasel your way out of that. So the my people is Israel. And any of the Gentiles who cleaves to Israel, as written in Isaiah 14, verse 1 and 2. That you be not partakers of her sin, that you receive not of her plagues, because her sins have reached unto the sky, and Jehovah has remembered her iniquities. Do unto her as she did unto you. Who is the you? The you is the inhabitants of Jerusalem when Rome came and destroyed Jerusalem. So do unto her as she has done to Jerusalem, and do it to her double, according to her works, in that golden cup in which she has filled to her double. You see, it says that she was drunk with the blood of the Kodesh. In the previous chapter, this is so important. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come here, and I will show you the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters. And of course we learned that the many waters are many peoples, many languages, kindreds, and tongues, whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and all the inhabitants of the earth, that's the Gentiles, we just read that, have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. How? What do you mean by drunk with the wine of her fornication? Verse 6, and I saw the woman was drunk with the blood of the Kodesh. So the Gentiles were also drunk with the blood of the Kodesh, the Jews. The Crusades. How about that? Shall I list every one of them off to you? How many Jews they killed in each crusade? Shall I tell you how many deaths, how many people were murdered during the blood libels? Should I tell you how many of the Kodesh were murdered during the Reformation? Shall I remind you how many Jews were murdered during the Holocaust by Christian nations? You Gentiles are all drunk with the blood of the Kodesh. And each and every one of you who celebrate Easter to honor this whore, you are drunk with the blood of the Kodesh, and you shall suffer the 7 last plagues. Now, I've said in previous videos that it seems that some of these plagues have already happened, but I also said, and they are yet to come in the future again. Drunk with the blood of the Kodesh, that's the Jews, drunk with the martyrs of not Jesus, but Yehoshua, the murderers of both. Now, it seems as if the Gentiles just cannot help themselves. In 2 weeks, when they are drinking their wine during Easter, what is the sacrament at Easter? Watch this. Let's see if I can find some images. What is this? See, I don't even know what this is, folks. This is all weird to me. So let me do this. Communion. That's what I'm looking for. All right. You see this? This is the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And rather than drinking of the wine of the new covenant, which is for Israel, as I pointed out in previous videos, the Gentiles are going to drink on Easter, in honor of Easter, in honor of the great whore, and drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. That is what they're going to do. They are going to drink from this golden cup that is in her hand, and drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Instead of going to the Hebrew calendar and choosing the day before Pesach, the evening before Pesach, and honoring the one who died for Israel and ultimately the whole world, they instead will honor Ishtar and drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So I want you to look at this golden cup carefully, okay? I want you to look at this golden cup carefully. And then I want you to see this. It's in, I was in the right chapter to begin with. All right, 17 and verse 4. I'll start at verse 1. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come here, and I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication with, and the inhabitants of the earth, that would be the Gentiles, have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit on a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold, precious silver, and pearls, and having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Now, are you convinced now? I want you to look at this golden cup one more time. Are you convinced now? No, you're not. Nope, the Gentiles will never be convinced. I don't mean all of the Gentiles. I mean the Gentiles as a people will not be convinced. They will knowingly, as this woman that I read the article from, will continue to drink of that golden cup full of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And in that cup is the blood of the Jews and the blood of the followers of Yehoshua.